Hi everyone. Am I audible properly? At least I can see in my screen that in my settings that things are going good. All right. So if somewhere you don't feel the audio correct or something else is problematic, then yeah, you can tell me. Okay. Yeah, long time no see. I was just occupied in a few stuff recently. A lot of things were coming on, and then the year end, and again the year start because in India we are following April as financial start year. So that's the thing, and I was occupied a bit with AI testing, and now currently Copilot for financial planning and analysis. S- So some stuff are going on. How are you doing? The first week might be intense for you guys as well, right? I hope you guys will enjoy the weekend. All right, coming to the point again. So yesterday I was watching Chandeep's videos regarding how to combine CSV files if the headers are not matching. Okay, just to recap what actually he means that. So let's say this is my January CSV file, and here you can see that. Let me stop it. And here you can see that I've got transaction ID and here again product ID, right? And what if I go back to February and here you can see now I've got transaction ID, at least pretty same, right? Not that kind of problem. But if I come back to March 1 here, now things will get starting interesting. Now you can see that earlier I have got quantity, right? QTY, but now I can see here I am seeing here quantity. Yeah. And here you can see that I am getting dates as well. And ID here simply, not transaction ID. So just to give you a glimpse, normally if you are getting this data from ERP softwares, you won't get any problems. Got it? Unless you are consolidating global data and your headers are coming from, you can say, lot of countries or different regions and they are different, then yeah, it makes sense that the headers can be different. Yeah. Or otherwise, if the employees have changed and they are now preparing this wall data set and they have named it something like this. Yeah. So these can be circumstances where you can find these problems. So I had a bit of idea that this will be a simpler problem because I have faced this similar issue during my C articleship. So I thought, okay, now let's go and make a video because Chandeep has already made it. And he has made a quite robust solution actually, but we can simplify it a bit. Okay, and that's what we will see now. Yeah. So let me open up my Excel as well and close down this too. We won't be needing it. And directly before going there, let's just see here what is actually Power Query doing. So I will import this data directly only one CSV file for the time being. So let me open up Gen file and let's see. Okay, what is Power Query doing? Now this thing is way more important. For the time being, you can see here, right? I am by default getting column 1, column 2, column 3, and various column names. Got it? So we can figure out something with this one, right? If I can delete this first row, or you can say do something with it, then things can be simpler here, right? And normally what happens is actually I have turned off the settings for me, but normally you will see the data directly coming in this way. You will see transaction ID, date time, product ID, and quantity. So headers will be directly cached on. Yeah. And if we just go into transform tab here, you will see Power Query has added not one step, but two additional steps as well. Okay. Uh, because I have already told you I have turned off my settings there, so it is not naming properly. But you can see that first it identified the source. You can see it is using this function. Yeah, CSV dot document function. We will talk more about it. in my method too, but for the time being, you can just ignore it. Okay. And then what is Power Query doing is, because it is a CSV file, it by default says that your first row will be always headers. And it makes sense, right? Because if you open this CSV file, let me go here and open in Notepad, you will see that your data will come in this form and it is separated with a comma here. Got it? So that's what the thing is going on. So that's why you will see here my data, despite it is being a numerical value, date value, time value, it is aligned leftward. Okay. And by default, Power Query is treating whole thing in text format. Yeah. And that's why it is adding a one more step, that is type column. Yeah. And for the time being, we can ignore it if you don't want to hardcode the values. But yeah, you can see that at least it is promoting the headers. Got it? Do I really need to promote these headers in the first place? That's what I need to ask myself. Yeah, if I don't want to promote my headers and then feel the problems of QTY being quantity or transaction ID being transaction ID, or simply ID, and here it is just ID is in small letters, I don't have to fuss over it, right? So simply I can delete this part. What can I now do? I can come here, remove my rows, remove top rows, and there I go. I am removing my first row. Yeah. And because I always know that whenever Power Query is going to bring this data in the future, it is always going to make it in column format. Yeah. And that's what I'm going to do here. I'm simply coming here. I will name it as transaction ID. Here I will make it date. I will make it to time. Then simply making it product ID. And then I can finally bring it on and say quantity. That's what I like. Okay. And finally, if you are good to go, and I know that, right? There will be always 5 columns. So what can I now do? I can set my, what you can say, the change data type, right? I can set my data types as well now. So I will select all the whole table. Then I will come here, transform, detect data type. Yeah. And for the time being, I feel it is good to go here, because there are not many problems. Otherwise, you can come here, right? And if someone is saying you, Aditya, just see here, you have hard coded the values. The thing is that we have already hard coded preferred columns directly here, right? So I don't feel it is going to be a problem until and unless we are going to add another column here, or one of the columns is or added, right? So what we can now do here, you can use this function, missing field dot nullable number. So this is an enumeration I have previously talked here, I think, in this one, I think, if I remember correctly. But yeah, or this one, these two videos are on Power Query specifically. So that's the thing. I have mentioned it here. How can we use these enumerations, right? So that's the thing what we can do now, and we can import the CSV data file. And finally, you will say that, Aditya, just see here, right? We are again going here and we are making it like 3 steps, right? First, you are removing the top rows, then you are doing again renaming the wall columns. I don't like. I just simply want something like a simple list where I can just say, let's say, I'm just saying that because it will be hard, right? Here we are renaming it and doing one by one step. Yeah, so it can be hard. So what can we do here? I'm going to write here columns, and then simply I will write here transaction ID. Then my another column was date. Then it was time. And again, what you can say here, it was the product ID file. Remember, and here it is quantity. Yeah, so I want to do something like this so that the moment I change the name columns, or in future I am going to align the data types as well, I can do so many things there, right? So you might want to do something like that. So what to do here, right? What can we do? So that's where this functions comes in the picture. Got it? And for the time being, let me come here. Okay, I formatted the code and now let's see here. So what it is doing is the main thing is here. I'm bringing the file contents here. Got it? But it's not going to be a problem because if I'm going to load new source folder, and if you see CSV files, I will name it my data, or you can say simply cells. You can see that I don't need this content function anymore now. Got it? Because I already brought my content here. So what to do here, right? So this function I am not gonna need here. Got it? Because the file is already in binary format. But here things can get interesting, right? Here you can see that I assigned delimiter as well, columns as well, some kind of encoding and chord style. Okay, let's go and see what Power Query says about this function. CSV document. And if you see here, you will get a lot of stuff here. But the main thing here, you can see now, um, where it is. Let me see here. Okay, I thought Power Query will mention it. All right, not a problem. But you can see this function properly. This is source, which we have brought out data, but the second column is columns. The second parameter is columns, and it needs columns now, right? So what we can do now here, I can provide all these columns as uh, I can remove this wall thing here and just write here simply. Or if you are not comfortable as well, so not a problem. You can simply write here columns. That are my columns tab. And now you can see here in one go, I named my columns here. Got it? And then finally, all we need to do here is simply remove the top row. And I'm going to skip this first row. And that's it. I've got my data ready. Okay. And if you like here, what you can now do here, if you want to change the data types, then again you can make a nested list for these particular things and do a lot of stuff. We are not going to go more deeper here, but you can get the idea, right? So what we can now do here, I am simply coming here, will simply say come here, transform, and here detect data types, right? And here everything is good to go. Now comes the main part here. What we can do now to bring this wall data in one go, right? So here we can do, and I will make it something like fx cleanup. Yeah. And if you know or have watched one of the previous sessions, then you will get the idea that what I mean by creating custom function here. So as I told you, we won't be needing this part. And if you see here, let me close it. We have got a binary data type, right? So that's the thing. So what we can now do here, we can come, I will say add file as binary as table, and that's it. And because here it will be binary, then I can come here and write binary here, right? And that's it. If I do here, it will, uh, did I make a mistake? Okay, not a problem here because it will be saying it will be actually file. That's my mistake. So I have got a function ready here. And I have actually now shown you three types of methods. How do I create functions? One of them was webinar. And for the time being, you can get the idea this one as well. The cleaning dirty data from multiple sheets. I have created a custom function even with making a transformation step as well, that if we change it in future, then it will be much more simpler. But for now, I'm going to be a simple idea here. So I have made my function here. Now, normally, what will you do here? You will come here and invoke a function, right? Invoke custom function. Then we'll say function, and here I've selected my content column, and that's it. You will do something like this, right? And it will again create one more step. Then you can simply combine it. Got it? Or if you want to do something like this one, right? So you will see that the data types are again gone. Or what you can simply now do here, you can come here, or instead I will name it as cleanup. Yeah. And simply saying cleanup here. I've got my tables ready. Now I can come to the next step. Let me, this is my cleanup step, and there I go. I can write here table combine. That's it. The moment I now do here, you can see now I've got transaction, date, time, product ID, and quantity, and everything is in proper SAP. And let me load the table here as well. So now you can see here everything is properly aligned, right? If I had not done this step, then what would have happened is it will create another nuisance columns. That's the thing. So here is one of the very simple approach. You can say that we don't need a much more complicated step, but yeah, this is one of the ways which I used to do, and I think there is not going to be any problem unless the columns are not in particular order. So what do I mean actually is, if tomorrow I'm going to say here time is coming first and that is coming date is coming later on, then it is going to be a problem. But I think that was to solve that wall issue. You can say that you actually cannot do it properly here because I already assigned the data types. But if there are different column types, or you can say that different column names, and at the same time, uh, what you can say that there are problems of different column names and different alignment of columns, then what you can do here is I have literally mentioned a wall step here in mastering list in Power Query that is in English, or you can watch this one as well. This one is in Hindi on Rahim's platform. But other than that, there is not going to be any problem. And if I remember Chandip's solution properly as well, he also literally gave come with this one as well, that it doesn't address the problem of this issue. So yeah, that was one of the simplest tricks, you can say that, to combine the columns without any using of much of M code here. Got it? So that's the thing. If you have got the idea and if you liked the video, then yeah, you can give me feedback because it will help me to improve myself as well. And if you like it, you can share me more ideas as well, some of these tricky issues, or you can say that some of these little issues which we can solve it in 10 to 15 minutes. Got it? So that's from my side, and if you have learned something, so then uh, you can comment it later on as well, and you can send me DM as well, right? All right, great guys, enjoy the weekend and meet you next week.